Hey guys, it's Jen and I'm back with another process video. Today I'm using my Felicity Jane kits, and these are kits that when I get them each month I just mix them all together because they have a common thread running through them, namely this black and white theme, and black and white's kind of a Felicity Jane signature. And so what I'm doing right now is punching out some squares with various Felicity Jane papers in black and white, and I believe this is a 2.5-inch square, but I'm not sure exactly. So I'm going to place it on right now on this piece of aqua colored cardstock. And what I'm going to do with those black and white papers is add just a little bit of color to them. So I'm using some Distress inks, and you can see I'm using some Mustard Seed, Evergreen Bough, Worn Lipstick, Fired Brick, and Tattered Rose. And with the Fired Brick, it's a bit of a darker red, and I find that mixed with the Worn Lipstick, it kind of gives me the reddish color that's on my sweater there in the photo. So I'm just using some water and a paintbrush to apply these inks, and I love Distress inks for techniques. They're not a good ink pad really for stamping, but they're great for using as a watercolor replacement or for, various techniques. So I'm just coloring in the leaves with the Evergreen Bough, and I am trying to get a little bit of a darker concentration in some areas just so it has a little bit of a varied look, but I'm not being too careful about it. It's not super important. It's just to add a splash of color to these little cards, and I really do like the way that it turns out in the end. So here I'm just adding some red to the flowers, and like I said, I'm mixing that Worn Lipstick with the Fired Brick to get kind of a darker, or just to get the right shade here. And I'm coloring these other flowers with the Mustard Seed. And then on these small flowers on this other card, I'm using Tattered Rose in the center, which is kind of that peachy pink color, with some yellow on the outsides. And I like the way that gives that flower a little bit of dimension. And then for the smaller flowers, I'm going to use some Worn Lipstick on the outsides, and I'm going to put a little bit of a darker hue in the center with that Fired Brick. And again, I'm just trying to give it a little bit of interest. I'm not being too careful or particular about it at all. And then I'm going to just wipe off I'm using a Ranger craft mat. I've cut it in half just so I have a small piece, and this is how I usually use it. So I put down some more Tattered Rose and dipped that paper into it, and it's just going to give it kind of a mottled watercolor look onto that paper. And then I'm not doing anything to the one that's mostly black. And right now the page is hanging off the top of the screen, but I'll bring it down soon. So now I am mounting my photo on some white cardstock. I do this often because I really like for my photo to be the main focus of my layouts, and this just really helps it to stand out. I just really like that look. And it's very strange for me to be using a colored background like I am today, but I just wanted to try something different, and I kind of feel like this layout isn't my favorite, but I actually really do like it. And I find that I need to switch it up sometimes just to keep things interesting. Otherwise, I kind of get stuck in a creative rut, and I find myself being a little bit more creative when I push myself outside of my box. So I suggest trying that. So I cut this 3x4 card out of one of the cut apart sheets that comes in the kit, and I'm outlining it with my black Muji pen because I want it to look more like the flowers that are in those papers that I cut up, and this is going to help it do that. I actually don't end up using this card, but it would have worked if I had wanted to use it, or it matches now. So I feel like that pen did what I wanted it to do. So now what I'm going to do is just arrange these squares onto the background, and I'm just making sure that they are equal distance from the sides and the bottom. Oh, first I decided I was going to see if I wanted to do it on a lighter background because, like I said earlier, I have a tendency to lean that way. I just really like soft, light, and pretty colors, but I really wanted to push myself to try something different on this layout, so I am going to stick with the aqua. And I forgot to color in one of those little flowers, so I'm just grabbing a little bit more of that mustard seed distress ink and coloring it in. And then I am going to adhere those down. And I'm just using a ruler because I really do want to make sure that they're equal distance from the side. I want this to be a straight line of squares. You don't see me pull out a ruler very often because I'm pretty casual with lining things up. It's not something that is important to me. So I pulled out this stencil, and it's from Studio Calico. I think it's just called Dots, but I could be wrong. And I'm going to try to make some black polka dots. And this was my first mistake. First of all, when you mix modeling paste, which is what I'm using, with black, it makes gray because modeling paste is white. What I really needed here was some like black gesso or something, but I didn't have that. And I just thought if I put more ink, which I'm using India ink, which is strange, I realize. If I put more ink with it, then I just make a really dark gray and it would be just fine. So I keep adding more and more until I'm satisfied with the color. And it does make a nice dark gray. And so I decided to just try it out. And like I said, I'm using this dot stencil. I just wanted to add a little interest to the background. And I pull it up and it looks okay. And that one got completely messed up, so I decided to try to make it messier, and then I decided to try to scrape it off, and then I thought, okay, it kind of looks cool scraped off. And then I just made this big old mess, and I don't know what was going on here, but it was hideous. And so I end up checking this background. So it's just not me. I don't like it. It's black, it's messy, it looks just gross. So I'm cleaning up my stencil and my work area because that modeling paste dries quickly and it gets hard and sticky, and so I just didn't want to deal with it later. So I cleaned that off, and now I'm going to look for a plan B. So while I'm searching through my papers, I find this one from the Just Sayin' kit, which was, I believe, May's kit, and it is the same color. And I am sorry that the top is cut off because I think it might stay that way for a bit. Anyway, it's similar in coloring, and so I thought it would work as a good replacement. So I'm just taking off those squares. Oh, there we go. I moved it down. Taking off those squares and adhering them to this layout. And it was a lot easier to line these ones up because there's lines on the paper. And in the end, that's why I ended up not using that 3x4 card because it had lines on it, but the background also had lines on it, so I just felt like it was redundant. And I used a stamp from this month. It's the June kit, and it's the I Am collection, and it's a cute little doodly border, and I thought that was nice to put below my title. And I really, really love the way that the word you fits in like it just nestles into the word smile. I love doing that wherever possible. So here you see I'm bringing back that card and deciding it's not going to work. I don't know why I was looking through my photos, but I did. And I'm just gluing down these pieces a little bit more. I'm a little bit lazy or impatient, I guess, when it comes to mixed media. I don't do a lot of it, but I hate waiting for things to dry. So I glued those down a little bit too early. They were wet and they pulled up a little bit. So I just added a little extra glue. So here I'm going through the different cut aparts that come in the kits, and I just keep them all together, and I cut them out when I get them so that I can just, they come on a 6x12 sheet and you just cut them apart. So I've already done all of that work. And so I just sit in front of the TV and cut them out. It's really easy and relaxing. I like doing stuff like that. So I found this one that says selfie, and I'm going to use that because I don't have occasion to use that kind of sentiment very often, but this was a selfie. And I'm going to use that little bow clip as well. And I'm thinking about using some of the gold flare that came in this month's I Am collection, but I didn't. And I'm searching through the different stamp sets, which I've said this before and I'll say it again. The stamp sets from Felicity Jane are my absolute favorite. Anyway, I'm searching through those to see if there's anything else I want to add. And now I'm trying to create a little cluster to the top left of my photo. There's kind of that awkward car. It's in the car. It's on the side of the car is what you can see. And it's just kind of an awkward space. So I just thought that would be a nice place for an embellishment. And so I'm going to put that little camera, that wood veneer camera, and I believe that's from this month's I Am kit as well. And I'm just going to adhere those into a little cluster to the top left of the photo. And I don't know if I already said this, but Felicity Jane is having a design team call. I think it's about to close, but if you're interested, you should definitely check that out, and you can do so on felicityjane.com. These are awesome kits, and they're very pretty, and there's lots of attention to detail with these kits, and so I highly suggest checking it out. So I just put an enamel dot in the center of that camera, kind of finish it off. And now I'm just checking to see if there are any other die cuts that I want to add. And now I'm going through this little tin, which is one of the things I was talking about with Felicity Jane, the attention to detail. The packaging is awesome. Anyway, this tin came in one of the kits with some sequins and stuff in it, and I've kept it, and I've just put all of my sequins from all of the kits in there. So I'm using these little flat black, white, and gold. I don't know if they're even called sequins. They don't have a hole in them, but it's more like confetti, I guess. But I'm going to scatter those from the top left to the bottom right on the layout. And I'm gluing them down with some Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. I have put that adhesive in a fine line bottle because it has that nice fine tip. And I love that adhesive for sequins because it's matte, so you don't see it if it like squishes out the sides, but also it's really strong. And I'll be sure to, if you haven't already, I have been posting on my blog, and so each time I post a video, I will post on my blog as well with all of the detail photos, along with much more information on the products that I used. So I'm just looking for something to add a shot of red to that cluster on the left. And I haven't found anything yet, but I did find this little flag, and I'm thinking about putting it at the top of the layout. And I do, and I just use my tiny attacher to staple it on. And I'm sorry I'm out of frame, but I also added some staples to some of those squares to just bring the staples into another area. I like to add things in threes oftentimes, and so I just added some more staples. I felt like that heart was a little off-centered, and it was a sticker, so I stuck it down and I didn't want to pull it up. So I'm just trying to find something to balance it. I placed that heart there for now. I'll end up switching it out for a different heart. But I did also find this little striped flag, and so I'm just going to adhere it into that cluster of little banners there to the left of the photo. And I feel like that gives me the little pop of red that I needed on that side. And there is that kind of teal outlined heart that I'm going to put with that red banner at the top. And I think I'm going to add my journaling now. So like I said, I'm sorry you've seen my head so many times, and it's total bedhead. I'm adding my journaling right to the lines that are on the background because they're there and it's easy. And I'm just talking about how my daughter hates getting her photo taken now. And so this kind of mad face is typical because she does that every time I want to take a photo with her. So, oh well. So I'm going to pull out another stamp that says today was, and stamp it below the photo. Just so I'm kind of bringing the stamping is above the photo, and now it's going to be below the photo. So it just kind of, I don't know, that balance again. and it has a blank line, and so I'm going to use another stamp set that has a tiny alphabet and just stamp the word typical. And I'm using some Prima, I was testing it below the photo to make sure it was the color I wanted. It's Ladybug chalk ink, and it is it's a nice red color that matches the red that's on the page. I thought about stamping it in black, but I thought it might be nice to just have that different pop of color there. So just stamping each letter. I prefer to stamp letters one at a time rather than lining them up on a block, just because I feel like I have more control, and sometimes when I line them up on a block it doesn't look straight, and anyway, that's just my preference. But you definitely could line them all up on a block. So I'm just looking for something. I didn't center that, and so I wanted to even that out with a little something on the side, so I just stamped this tiny little heart on the side. And then I decide that I'm going to add those tiny little hearts and along with my confetti. So it is actually a row of hearts, but I'm just inking up with the edge of the stamp pad, the ink pad. I'm just inking up one little heart so I can stamp one at a time. And that's black archival ink from Close to My Heart. I love that black ink. And so I'm just adding a few of those into the confetti, and I think that's going to pretty much complete the layout. Let's see here. Oh, I got ink on one of the sequins, the white sequins, and so I ripped it up and I'm going to glue another one down because that archival ink will stick to hard surfaces like that. So I'm just going to clean up my sequins, but I believe that's the end of the layout. I hope that you've enjoyed it. And like I said, please check out my blog at www.craftygenscow for much more information and all of my close-up photos. And if you have any questions, please leave me a comment. Thanks so much for watching. And I wanted to say hi to all of my new subscribers. I'm so glad that you're here. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.